Chapter 82. The World's Shabbiest. 2. Aha! Master laughed. Her nose bone was broken and bleeding. As she shed blood in the white snowfield, whoosh! Master swung her bare fist. Ha! The fist hit the Muram Lord square on the chin. Master didn't miss a beat when the Muram Lord stumbled back. She ran. She rushed at him. She bit him. Ugh! Rip! Kook! Huff! Ugh! You bastard! The Muram Lord hurriedly pushed Master away, but his ears were already wet with blood. His flesh was ripped off with a squelching noise. Coo-ha! A quiet scream rang through the snowfield. TCH! Master spat out the blood-stained ear in the snow. Master's mouth also tinged red. She smiled as if she was happy with the outcome of her hunt. A devil. She was like a bloodthirsty evil spirit. Pfft! It tastes dirty. The Namgung family's lofty virtues do nothing to improve the taste of your flesh. Oi, Madhu. Seems like you don't enjoy human flesh anymore. Can you even call yourself a demon? You're so old that you taste like rotten spinach. But there's some truth to what you said earlier. Master wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. The great battle of good and evil should have ended on the first day. Both you and I were holding back. I thought I was fighting with everything on the line, but in fact, I couldn't. I didn't really risk my life. Today's fight is a second opportunity that nature wouldn't have allowed us. Master looked at me. Her silent eyes contained warm and tender regard. We can't foolishly repeat the same mistakes. Axe Saint. Today, I shall use up everything I have. Are you going to use your true chi? That's right. Innate true chi. It was the energy that everyone has when they are first born. In other words, it was their life force. Unlike internal energy, true chi could not be artificially cultivated. If it was used, it was no more. And once it was used up, it was the end of the martial artist's life. They would die. Or become crippled. For martial artists, true chi was the last resort. It was a point of no return. Madhu. You and I are weak anyway. The Muram Lord said. Was it because he lost an ear? The Muram Lord frowned with a terrifying expression. If we try to draw out your true chi now, we can only use it like a novice or a trainee, let alone as a master. Of course, there is no internal energy without our lower abdomen. It will be impossible to demonstrate our skills. Don't you know this? I know. Are you intending to use up your true chi to show the martial arts of a trainee, at best? Of course. Master smiled. Don't be angry, Namgung-un. I do not intend to throw away my life. I would never. I just hope that my inevitable last day happens to be today. I now feel the full joy of being alive. I'm grateful twice over. I'm grateful to myself for surviving to this day, and I am grateful to fate that I may die today. Even though the world is destroyed? Yes. I am grateful for all the connections I have made up to this very moment. Master slowly got into a stance. Right hand forward. Left hand back. Looking back at it, I am truly happy as a warrior. Wah! Snow flew through the air. It wasn't snow from the sky. A small maelstrom of snow swirled around Master. Her innate true chi had trickled out. The wind whipped around, centering on Master. I see. Is that so? The Muram Lord accepted her wish with a clear face. All right. I've also longed for a day like today. The wind flowed backward. Let's die together, heavenly demon. The two ran toward each other. And as for me, I looked at the scenery as their life forces spilled onto the snowfield. Master smacked away the Murim Lord's hand. The Murim Lord stepped on Master's foot. Their arms crossed and their feet crossed, their true chi ceaselessly dripping from their bodies. It was a leakage that spilled their lives. The permanent snowfield that the sun couldn't melt mixed and melted into the lives of the two warriors. Master hit the Murim Lord's back. The wind blew. The wind flowed in the direction her fingertips pointed, and snow followed this path. In a world covered with snow, only the path through which the hands and feet of two people crossed slowly turned to the bare ground. And that wasn't all. Little by little, rapidly, things that weren't white grew around the spot where Master and the Murim Lord fought. A weed. A bush. The ground elsewhere was still frozen with snow, but between the two fighters, the seasons bloomed. They're being fed true chi. Bei Hurayong said bluntly. It's like a feast for the plants because it's the true chi of such masters. But even then, it's only temporary. Even if it was only a moment, the seasons were beautiful. The earth drank the true chi of the two people. Thus, heaven and earth briefly returned to what they were before they immersed in eternal winter. It was a forest of peach flowers. A peach tree grew and thickened as if time were accelerated. The peach trees resembled human fingers. The branches, crawling out from the ground, stretched their hands toward the sky like they were trying to grab something. Flowers bloomed. Through the petals of pink-colored flowers, through the cracks of the branches like fingers, Master and Murim Lord dueled. Their hands and feet moved with the intent to kill each other. However, covered by the petals, it looked like a dance, and as it took the lives of two people, it was an unnatural death. Many things in the world are beautiful when covered by flower petals. Even killing intent. Even the poison of my master. This is a rare event. The white snowfield. Red peach petals flew around. Is it because one side was born with the ideal yin body and the other with a body for martial arts? The yin and yang have almost completely meshed together. Those two people are already in a world of their own. I've never seen such a curious sight. The peach flowers bloomed and closed. Spring stayed, then passed again. March of the heavenly demon. Master stepped forward. As the blizzard struck, the peach flowers scattered. Destruction of the yellow moon. The Murim Lord grabbed her wrist and twisted it. The wind stopped, and the peach blossoms were in full bloom again. The petals then were carried on the wind and buried my shoulder. It was only then that I knew. These red flowers were Master's blood. It was the blood of the Murim Lord as well. The petals bloomed from drinking the blood of these two people. I hate you and your people. Winter itself was bleeding. I hate you. Master. I hate the righteous sect. I don't like heroes. I don't like the 9 great schools. I hate the 5 noble clans. You all are happy while the common man screams. So aloof. But it is not your happiness that I cannot forgive. Of course it wasn't. Master. It was that even people like you could be hurt. Peach blossoms bloomed and fell. The seasons passed. But the number of flowers that bloomed became fewer and the seasons became shorter and shorter. Even those like you said that things were painful. You made expressions of pain, spoke of pain, sought comfort and provided comfort. Like you were pretending to be human. Master was dying. I am a detestable person. Flowers fell. So why? The seasons passed. Why were you beastly to the others, but always human among yourselves? Countless peach blossoms covered the shadows of the two. In retrospect, it was a momentary dream, a quick scene in a book. The branches were dry. No more peach blossoms bloomed. The wind blew, and snow covered the ground again. Amid the fallen petals, Master and the Murim Lord stood tall. Shake. KK, yup. Phew.
Ha!
Over the red flower field, an even redder color was spewed. It was the blood of the Murim Lord. Master's tightly clenched fist had reached the chest of the Murim Lord. The old man stumbled like a mirage. Then, lightly, he fell. The red flowers rose up as if to accept the old man's body. Master stood still. Master. No answer came back when I called. Master. I stepped toward her. I hastened. I ran, and I hugged Master's body that was still standing tall. It was cold. Her body was cold, like an ice field. Master. I won. Master's voice was clear. The body heat that had disappeared from her body was still hanging on to her voice. But it was too light. Her fingers and body all became light in a moment as if she was rapidly aging. Yes, you won. You won, Master. Originally, I should have pierced his chest and grabbed his heart. But rather than piercing, I stopped at hitting. I showed my disciple a shameful face. Not at all. It wasn't like that. Well. My face is still in better shape than yours now. What sort of expression is that? I carefully laid down Master with my arms. I used aura to cover her body. Even so, Master did not get any warmer. Pat. Even the fingertips that touched my cheek were as cold as icicles. Don't worry, disciple. I still have a bit of time before I die. 2 hours. Isn't that enough time to say
goodbye?
I only had 2 hours left to hear this person's voice and hear her breath. You're still crying. Master looked sad. You're making things difficult for your master. Well, I have also made things difficult for you. I wanted to take a long time to tell you everything, but this old lady's stubbornness prevented me from even that. I worry about what I will leave in your heart, what I will hand down to you. I'm afraid I'll leave a void in you, Master whispered, letting out a cold, bloody cough. I wish for you to remember me like one remembers the flower at the moment it bloomed. Death King Nim. I heard an urgent cry. It was the voice of the alchemist. Maybe they just now realized that the great battle of good and evil had taken place in the snowfield, as the alchemist and the party from the tower were running toward us. Death King Nim, WH, what is this? Oi. Master. The venomous snake was surprised to discover the Murim Lord. Are you okay? Hey, Master. Look at me. Open your eyes. The old man is fine. Master coughed again. The last hit was shallow. It didn't go in deep. He was boasting that luck was on his side today. Being crippled is that fellow's luck. WH, what do you mean by crippled? The alchemist opened and closed her mouth again. I would never let him go in that condition. Anyway, we don't have time for this. Both of you need treatment. I'm fine. Take care of the old man. But I know my body the best. It's already over for me. And, said Master, I want to spend the last of my time with my only disciple. Child. Could you leave us two alone? The alchemist was both a pharmacist and a doctor. She approached and checked Master's pulse. She activated her skill to examine her patient's physical condition. The alchemist's complexion turned dark. I have painkillers. Would you like some? That's all right. Master smiled. The winter wind is lovely. It's nice and cool for my heart. When I reach nirvana, I want to feel this wind as it is now. The alchemist stood up. Her head drooped. She quietly bowed toward Master. The medicine king, who was standing by without a word, beckoned and gathered the rest of the party. It wasn't long before they went back to the cave with the Murim Lord. They were being considerate of Master and me. Master. Gongja. Master held on to my hand. What shall we do with the remaining time? Did you want to hear about my childhood? Would you like to hear how beautiful the headquarters of our cult is? Please. I, too, held Master's dry hand. There was still something left. Her life hadn't become perfect. There was still a missing puzzle piece, the one that would make sure that she enjoyed her greatest moments and would make a completely satisfying ending. I have a request. What is it? Please have a match with me. Master's eyes widened. How unexpected. All disciples dream of surpassing their master, but as you can see, I cannot move any further. Gongja. What's the point of winning against a person who can't even move? If it's not a match that involves the body. I want to compete against Master with words. A battle of wits, I see. A battle of wits? It was a match done not with the body but with one's mouth. One person starts by describing what skill they would use and how. When the other person counters the attack, they also explain how they would deal with it. Therefore, there was no need to move one's limbs. No internal energy was required. It was a fight that pitted two people's perception of martial arts. A confrontation of their knowledge. Oh ho. Master gently laughed. Our disciple is being quite arrogant. If we compete with our bodies, Gongja, you will be victorious, but your defeat will be inevitable in a battle of wits. I have many skills that I've learned in my heyday, but you would fight with just the slight knowledge of the infernal heaven's demonic art. I opened my mouth. I don't think that the match against the Murim Lord was your best, Master. You even said this. Originally, you would have pierced his chest and grabbed his heart. Even if it's just a verbal fight, I want Master to achieve the most satisfying match in the end. The greatest fight with no regrets. That was the wish of all martial artists. Gongja. Do you mean that you can show it to me? Yes. Master seemed to find my proposal interesting. Was she thinking that this was the childish thought process of her young student? She didn't seem to have any expectation that I could provide her with a satisfying match. All right. However, I will not take mercy on you, even in a verbal match. I will allow you to go first, but don't resent your master too much if I end the match with one strike. Yes. When the match is over, I shall tell you the tales of when I was younger. Now, show this master the results of your training. Master grinned. It was a smile that felt like a peach blossom. I looked down at Master's face and slowly turned to the man sitting across from me. I looked at the martial artist who had reached the peak not here, but in another world. The Sword Emperor. Is it my turn now? He was also someone who rose to be the greatest of all time in another world. Even though he could not fight with his body as a ghost, he could do a verbal spar by borrowing my mouth. Yes. Please fulfill the promise from when you lost the bet. I will. Bei Hurayong smirked. I wanted to go up against the head of the demonic cult here anyway. He crossed his arms and sat on the snow. I'll give her the greatest match of all time. Tell her that you will yield the first 3 moves. With me in the center, 2 godlike beings faced each other. Chapter 83. Sword Dance. 1. Heart's Sword. So Baekhyang stumbled over that stage after winter passed again and again, when she could no longer feel the cold of that winter. The sword of the heart. So Baekhyang began to understand that stage when she was no longer referred to as the fragrance of snow, but instead as the heavenly demon. I can see it. So Baekhyang, the woman who became the heavenly demon, muttered. There is a stage ahead that no man has ever overcome. It looks as far away as Nirvana, but is there any place that you can't go if you can see it? The heavenly demon's heart pounded. The Heart's Sword was a legendary stage that was only talked about. Killing someone with your mind. If you have the intent to kill, you hold these murderous intentions in your heart, and the person will soon die. There was no need for a sword. There was no need for words either. And that stage finally presented itself in front of her. Heavenly Demon Nim. If. The greatest of us all. If she was given time. If she had 60 years to focus solely on training. Really, if she had it. Release us from this pain. The people prostrated themselves before her. The government told us to pay our tax with sable leather. My father went hunting for martens but didn't come back, so we couldn't pay the tax, and taxes are paid by the number of heads in our family. My grandmother told me that her days were short anyway, and to reduce the tax. Heavenly Demon Nim. In front of her, there were many backs stooped over in bows. There was a drought last year, so we had nothing to eat. I had nothing to eat, but I was ordered to build a reservoir and a dam to prevent next year's drought. But how can one build with a starving body? They dragged my daughter away and she hasn't come back. Heavenly Demon Nim. There were very many. The heavenly demon quietly looked up at the snowy mountain. Years to devote herself to training. If she only had 60 years, she would be able to rise to a stage that nobody in history had ever done. That was a clear, indisputable fact. However, despite this, guide us. The heavenly demon stood up, holding her sword. The dark robe fluttered. There are many things that I must cut down. Would she abandon the world? Or would she abandon herself? In the end, the heavenly demon simply abandoned her own desires. She stifled her desire for strength until she desired for nothing. Because that was how she had always lived. That day, too, she cut down those who froze the world. But she couldn't cut down winter. Originally, Bae Huryeong kneeled down. It'd be unspeakable for a martial artist to borrow someone else's mouth for a match. It's discourteous, and in terms of rudeness, it would go down in history and be ridiculed. It was my first time seeing Bae Huryeong in such a posture. He was sitting politely on the snowfield. I realized that it was a courtesy that he was showing to an opponent he recognized as a worthy rival. But even though I know it's ridiculous, I have no choice but to ask for a match. The Sword Emperor looked straight at Master. I am called the Sword Emperor. In the world of 1,000 blades, I was officially recognized as its #1. It may be discourteous of me, but I request a verbal match between us. Then, he lowered his head. Disciple. Master blinked. Come on, describe your first move. The match has already begun. Of course, Master's eyes couldn't see Bae Huryeong. She couldn't hear his words, nor could she see his bow. Master. What is it? You know that I can use some strange techniques. Are you referring to the technique that brought the juncture of my children and the righteous path back to life? Master laughed. Her laughter was quiet, as if it would soon disappear. I decided not to ask you anything. Silence is a virtue. Perhaps it's that you're an emissary sent by the Jade Emperor, who pitied me. Master was smiling as her head rested on my thighs. When she laughed, her head shook a little. From that movement, I could tell that she was becoming lighter. There is another technique I can use. Master's time was running out. I had to say things as concisely as possible. The technique involves summoning ghosts. The ghost next to me right now is a skilled martial artist. In another world, he was called the greatest. The greatest martial artist in another world. How magnificent. Master snickered. It seemed that she thought it was a funny joke. All right. Since it's a ghost of the greatest fighter in another world that my student summoned, I'll pay attention. I'll happily accept you as my opponent for a battle of wits. I looked at Bei Hurayong. Bei Hurayong continued to sit in silence. Well, what kind of move does the number one ghost have to offer? He said he would yield the move to Master. He said that he would yield the first 3 moves to you, Master. A bit of the smile disappeared from Master's expression. What a maniac. My disciple would never say such a thing. It must be the ghost that does not know his place. Then, with the 5th blade of the 12 cloud dragon swords, the outward dragon quick sword, I pierce the water blood point. The first move. I shall use the 6th form of the earth dragon style, Western River Cave Dragon, fainting and then retreating with the floating cloud step. Bei Hurayong responded without hesitation. I didn't know what the 12 cloud dragon swords, nor the earth dragon style, was. The only thing I knew was the infernal heavens demonic art. I was just calmly communicating their fight with my mouth. He used the 6th form of the earth dragon style, Western River Cave Dragon, fainting, and then used the floating cloud step to retreat. Master furrowed her brows. Then I will blow him away with the 7th form of the ultimate mysterious art, the expected reaction. I shall avoid it and faint with the 2nd move of the 6 boxing attacks, double sheet attack. Master's elegant eyebrows crinkled a little more. I will attack with the 6th form of 6 equal grave swords, sword of disinterment. I use my perching duck kick. I step back with the all-blossom chaotic step. 3 turns ended in an instant. I couldn't understand what kind of battle was unfolding between the two. However, Master was silent. You. Bei Hurayong calmly opened his mouth. I can roughly imagine how you lived. After climbing to the top rank in your sect, you devoted yourself to your group without time for training. You could have entered the stage of life and death, but you didn't. Why? Because you were busy. 24 hours in a day is not enough to take care of a sect. You must have been busy taking care of your family, the members of your cult. What time would you have had for training? But, said Bei Hurayong. You know what's the most unfair part of this? The corner of his mouth twisted. Even like this, you were still the strongest. You had no reason to aim higher. Why? You're already at the top. It was enough to survive, and everyone acknowledged your strength. There was no need to try. Because you were literally their god. Poor thing. Your misfortune is that you were the absolute strongest in this world. Bei Hurayong crossed his arms. Let me show you what a god among gods is like. I didn't repeat these words to her. I didn't feel like there was a need to. Master slowly raised her head. Her light body leaned on mine a little. With that, she sat up in the snow. You're not just for show. The Heavenly Demon. From the Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon. The strongest of all time. Demonic cult. Of course. Who do you think I am? Sword Emperor. From the world of 1,000 blades. The strongest being under the heavens. Righteous sect. Fine. I shall take you seriously. Come at me. A martial arts match. It began now. 3. I use the first form of the flaming blood dragon, ascending explosion, to strike your chin. You're suddenly acting like the righteous sect, for some reason. With the upward momentum, I'll continuously use the 8 great cloud dragon techniques for 1 second. While one hand was being gathered into a fist, the other hand struck. 1 turn. I'll use the third form of the assassination sword, the scholar's strike, to attack your fortune spring point and kill the momentum of your ascending explosion. Oh, interesting. What should I do? Should I receive it, or? All right. I'll use the precept of life and death along with Cove Surge Thread. Another turn. As the battle of wits continued, Master started to run out of breath. The white breath of winter turned even whiter. Master closed her left hand and squeezed my knee tightly. With her right hand, she clenched my hand. She was trembling. Master's trembling passed on to me through her hands. How long are you going to keep your dirty foot over my fingers? I'll tear it off with burning leech boss plate, the second form of the 3 seeds demonic scriptures. I was only matching your aura. What a ferocious temper you have. I'll immediately take my feet off and onto the air with running wave, simultaneously using the 4th form of great godly chariot rotation, living death, to hit the right giant bone, Sun Valley, and spirit home pressure points at the same time. I will take 3 steps back with heavenly demon step. Master was delighted. Since you pretended to be the righteous sect, should I try to imitate the demonic cult's techniques, too? They responded with the other sect's moves. That was right. The Murim Lord, the Axe Saint, was never really Master's rival. It was true that the Murim Lord was the strongest member of the righteous sect in this world. He was the only one who was able to stand against Master. But wasn't it proven in the final battle? When the two fought each other with all their power, it was Master who eventually won. The game had a fixed ending. Maybe that was why Master delayed the conclusion of the battle of good and evil 990 times. She was like a child who cherished and savored a piece of candy as long as possible because she knew it would melt away. I'm sorry. That was why in the bad ending, the Murim Lord said those words to Master. I'm sorry, I'm weaker than you. I was weaker than you. Kill me. Clasp. Without realizing it, I tightened my grip. A foolish act. I attack your face with the second form of assassination sword. You wish. I use the iron burning plate to evade your attack, and this time, I use ascending explosion on your other side. Aha! Master finally smiled. It wasn't a sad smile, nor a smile that looked like it would evaporate away. It was a bright laugh, backed by the pounding of her heart. Disciple. The ghost you brought in is the best. Yes. Now I could fully understand the feelings of the Murim Lord. He's probably the strongest person I know. Where were you hiding these ghosts, and why are you only introducing them to me now? I was a little upset. I've never met such a powerful martial artist before. No. I was very upset. I twist your arm and stop your force. And I take 4 steps back with heavenly demon step. You've already gone back 3 steps, and now you're going another 4. Are you running back with your tail between your legs? I go forward with the floating cloud step and follow you, then use sudden midsummer rain. I then carry it out with sword force. Ha! Sword force with sudden midsummer rain? I guess you're tired of searching for me. Fine then. I use the sword of thirst to strike upward against you, then use the first 3 forms of lower sand to strike the heaven pillar, nape, and life pillar all in a row. For me. The match between the two was incomprehensible. I couldn't even imagine the fight in my head. I understood the sword of thirst. However, I didn't know what lower sand dragon was. I knew what running wave was. However, I didn't know what sort of form living death of the great godly chariot rotation was. It all kept going over my head, and I wasn't even allowed to hesitate while trying to picture it. I could not see the match between the two at all. You have to attack like that. Great. I use the butterfly sword style's precept of life and death to dodge and step back, then use ultimate fertile heaven sword. Not bad. Not bad at all. If possible, I wanted to become her rival. If possible, I wanted to monopolize her hopes and be the one to grant her wishes. I wanted her to spend the last of her life happy because of me. But I couldn't see it. What I can see and hear, at best, was good. I'll use the technique to get out of the way. I'll respond with the third form of sword style. Only something like this. I could not see the swords of the two masters. All right. I'll counter with the second form of. I'll follow up with the method of. The words didn't make sense. Fine. I'll stab your and with S sword style. You sure are in a hurry. I'll dodge using, then use to aim at your neck. I'll deflect it, then use the 10th form of, to attack your. With, I'll an. After counterattacking, I'll twist the using of to. Using to an. It was dark. I was far from reaching their playing field. After deflecting it. It was then. Master, who was breathless, looked back at me. Suddenly, time seemed to stop. Master's gaze. The silent gaze stayed on my face. Right. There was a small smile on Master's lips. Disciple. The day is cold. The season repeatedly falls into winter, and so this area is known as a permanent snowfield. The snowfield is a harsh battleground. When you step forward, you often fall into the snow, so you have to continue using movement skills. Master touched the snowfield with her finger. The porous snow was smeared on Master's fingertips. So a battle on the snowfield always focuses on breaking the other person's posture. Disciple. Do you understand? You don't have to stubbornly cut off the person's head or stab their back. It is enough to push them until they can't hold their movement skill. That's why your ghost and I are trying to take over each other's space. If you steal their space, your opponent will have a smaller range of movement. Master. There's also a reason why we are using kicks. It isn't just to hit the other person. Kicks scatter the snow and obscure the other's sight. It's quite a frantic fight. Isn't it? Master whispered in my ear. Close your eyes. Master's left hand slowly covered my eyes. Can you picture your master's opponent? Yes. It is a strong and noble master. He's a large man. He's nearly twice my size. Right? In my head, I pictured Beihurayong. Yes. The giant, bear-like master is breathing unevenly. He's urging you to attack and smiling confidently. There is a big difference in our physiques. Of course he's confident. The more Master spoke, the clearer Beihurayong's figure became in my mind. How can I overcome the difference in our natural physiques? I have to accept it. Accept it, but think of my own strengths. I am able to move faster than him. Most of all, I am more familiar with the snowfield. And I am more adept in using my skills than he is. Yes. Play the long game. Do you understand, disciple? I am aiming for a drawn-out battle. Master laughed, then said playfully. But my opponent sees through my intentions. His movements become impatient. His sword cuts faster. He's running toward me like a wild boar. Soon. But there is nothing to be scared of. I had already foreseen this. I step back, lightly, retreat back. My eyes. I drag him in. The landscape was drawn before my eyes. I keep walking backwards. My footsteps continue to be light. He acts like a wild boar, rushing in and throwing snow around in all directions. The winter repeated, and the world turned into a permanent snowfield. Master stepped back. Beihurayong rushed forward. Snowflakes fly away with each step we take. I, too, started to be able to see their swords. Chapter 84. Sword Dance. 2. Winter. It's snowing. Master's footsteps were light. It has already been 2 days since our match began. She stepped lightly, so lightly on the snowfield as if she would slip on the ice. A world covered in white. The black hem of Master's clothes flowed like a brush on white paper. How long are you going to run away? There was another brush following after her. Its strokes were tougher, stronger, and more intense than Master's. It was a brush dipped heavily in ink and pressed hard on the paper. If it's a movement skill, I won't lose to you. With heavy steps, Beihurayong broke the ice under his feet, rushing forward where his gaze hit like a bulldozer. I am confident that I can keep running forever. But there will still be an end to it. Don't you know? This world is an endless field of snow. There may be no place to go, but there is an infinite number of places to run. I won't leave you be. Beihurayong kicked the snow with a thwack, dashing forward. If you were in your prime, maybe you could run away forever. But this match is between us as we are now. If we're counting the rest of your life, you don't even have 2 hours left. The sand in your glass is falling quickly. Are you still going to run away? Oh ho! How unfair! Life is unfair. Beihurayong swung his sword. You have a point. Master turned her head and easily avoided the attack. I don't have much time left to live. I can't continue running away. At some point, we have to end the match. There's no reason that point shouldn't be now. Now you're talking my language. If so. Master grabbed the hilt of her sword. I shall show you my maximum power. Infernal Heaven's demonic art. First form. Sword of Starvation. Starvation, like parents exchanging their own child with their neighbors to eat them. The sword parted the winter wind with a scream. Have you heard the tale of an adult who baked the neighbor's child into jerky and buried them in the snow? Have you heard the rumors in the village? Did you hear that if you dig at the snow on the side of the village road, your shovel will discover young flesh at each plow? How sad. Shying. Beihurayong blocked Master's blade with his sword. It must have been a famine year. That's right. A famine is like an epidemic that always returns. But that's just chance. Beihurayong was hit by the cold gust, and swung his sword again. Good harvests happen by chance, as do famines. It's nothing more than coincidence. Sect leader, if you mourn so much over accidental tragedies, you should celebrate accidental blessings just as much. The depth of one's sadness should be equal to the height of one's happiness. Shying. The 2 swords clashed. A red plum flower fell. So, I shall sing of the happy autumn harvest. Snowflakes descended like falling leaves. There are days when I looked at the horizon as I walked down the street. It was a day when the golden sea of rice stalks stretched to the horizon. Young children played hide and seek among the rice paddies as tall as them. Laughter thundered and weaved in and out of the rows of rice plants. Autumn. The wind blew. The mountains and fields turned red with autumn leaves, and the horizon turned yellow with rice stalks. You talk of children's flesh buried in the snow? Then I'll talk of the children's laughter as they play under the bountiful produce. It was a world full of crimson maple leaves fluttering to the ground. Beihurayung swung the sword. Either way, the days are both results of chance. If I have to put something into my heart as I swing my sword, I will think of the sound of laughter. When I think back on life before I die, I will think of the children playing hide and seek. It's an obvious choice. Really? Master sliced through the leaves. What a blessing! Infernal heaven's demonic art. Second form. Sword of thirst. Both cases are by chance, you say. Of course it is. But happiness does not kill a person. The suffering from starvation, the pain of thirst, can kill. And if you die, you're dead forever. It's the end. The sun began to set. I shall sing of the people who died, unable to drink a sip of water. Summer. A heat wave covered the world. All the vegetation on the mountain dried up. Weeds turned yellow. Fruits shriveled up, the beetles crawled slowly, and hundreds, thousands, 10,000s of fish corpses were scattered along the side of the river. Flop. The fish's round eyeballs were desiccated. Master's sword became sticky. Beihurayung parried the sword, but Master did not back down. Rather, she clung to him even closer. It was close combat. They were so close to each other that they could feel the opponent's breath. Chong! Shing! Sword quickly countered sword, so fast to make one's eyes dizzy. If you wash and swim in the summer, it's really cool. Beihurayung parried Master's quick sword. You're teaching Gongja wrong. What? Sorry. My words were a little harsh. Rather than teaching him wrong, you're teaching him too early. Beihurayung's sword flowed like water. It's good to talk about the pain of the world. It's also good to look at other people's suffering. But that isn't something to be done forever. Why do you say that? It's just that it gets tiring. Churring. Red lily flowers bloomed. This Gongja kid still hasn't tasted the wonders of the world. Suddenly, his fighting style changed. He has to taste its delicacies. It's only when he tastes it he can further understand the sorrow of those who would never be able to feel the same. He needs to swim in the summer. He needs to swim in it so that he can feel the pain of those desiccated and weak. A human heart is like a candle. So long as it keeps burning, it will burn out one day. Cult Master, did you know? This kid still has never fallen in love. He's never been in a relationship. His attacks poured down like a waterfall. But he already acts like he's carrying all the pain and sadness in the world. What an act! Ha! He shouldn't even dream of it. Even if your cult teaches kids young, he's way too young for this. It showered like rain. I'm going to teach this kid how to be happy. The rain poured. I'll teach him how to laugh without a single lie. I'll teach him how to put his arm around someone's shoulders. He should be able to learn how to be happy with someone. Only then can he learn endless sadness. The rain poured over the dry earth. The river became fuller with the rainwater. As the river's level rose, it swallowed the corpses of the fish on the banks. Violet morning glories opened up to drink in the raindrops. The sound of frogs croaking. You plan to be my disciple's master? Infernal heaven's demonic art. Third form. Sword of the drowned. That's right. How dare you? It was like a ceaseless stream of rain. The sword struck again and again. Who do you think you are to covet my direct disciple? Midsummer. The monsoons caused many floods. Countless rose petals floated down the river.
Ha!
Is this a joke? I'd planned to be his master first. The reservoir collapsed, and the village was locked in the water. The water rose up to the feet of the mountains. On top of the rising water, Master and Behu kicked at each other. Splish. Splash. Waves erupted from where the two people stepped. I was the one who taught this guy how to take the heads of orcs. I was also the one to teach him how to utilize aura. I raised this brat with no talent in the martial arts until he could use it somewhat. And now, you're interfering and being a bad influence. You're calling me a bad influence?
Yeah.
The demonic cult is a bad influence.
Duh.
The two glided around on the surface of the water. One was chased. The waves bloomed at his feet with a splash. The other was chasing. Gently, her toes traipsed on the rose petals. The two cast shadows over the waves and petals. Swinging a sword should be fun. The smell of water on a rainy day. The aroma of the flowers was thick. Gongja is not ready for the infernal heaven's demonic art. It's a sword that wields pain, understands pain. What's that supposed to be? It's too much of a demonic art. But he still needs to smell the flowers and feel joy under a summer shower. Gongja is my disciple. He was born to be the next master of this sect. It's because you think so that I'm calling you a bad influence. You second-rate master. Hundreds and millions of roses. Before long, the flooded river was no longer visible. There was no sign of the water. The rose petals had covered its entire surface. The world blazed red, becoming a flower garden. Spring. Flowers flowed. Red peonies bloomed and flew into the air. Governing red chaos sword's sixth form, sword of balanced chaos, to slice your neck. Shirring. Two petals gave way to her blade. I take 2 steps back with the center snow step. I could see it. I'll send you flying with the infernal heaven's demonic art's 7th form, sword of blunt impact. I could hear it. I'll use the ocean blossom strike style's 4th form, falling harvest moon, to confront you. I could see the two people's swords. I could see the pressed peonies underneath the two people's feet. The red peonies' aroma burst as they were stepped on. I could see it at last. Master was. The demonic cult's headmaster, the heavenly demon, was losing. I will resist you with the infernal heaven's demonic art's 8th form, sword of incineration. Under the sky of peonies, Master's blood spilled. It was bloody. The difference between Master and Behu skill was clear. No matter how long she tried to perpetuate the battle, it was impossible for Master to outrun Behu pursuit. And from attempting the impossible, Master's arms, legs, and shoulders bled red. Behu got into a pose. I'll cut you off with the old remains flower sword's first technique, sword of the moonlit night. The sound of Master's breathing became a little thin. Her chi was running out. It would be overambitious for her to try for mutual death by using her true chi. Master opened her mouth. I originally couldn't complete the final form of the infernal heaven's demonic art. This was for one reason. I had been set on using the death from my youth, death by freezing. Freezing to death after being left behind in a snowfield by my mother. That was what I considered to be the penultimate death. Master raised up her sword high. But The tip of her sword pointed to the sky like an hour hand at noon. Paradoxically, I was able to complete the 9th form of the infernal heaven's demonic art after the world had been destroyed. Heaven and earth, it was my ego. Whether I looked up at the sky or walked beneath it, I was alone. Baraya. Baraya. Agabaraya. The world is winter, and a lone candle burns. If I sing, it is the song of the whole world, and if I die, it is the death of everything. It's white. It's turning white, and whiter still. Her sword. It cut the heavens. My infernal heaven is the testament of the snowfield. Infernal heaven's demonic art. 9th form. Sword of freezing. The winter cut through the spring. The red-petaled sky split apart. And in its cracks, a white winter raged. It raged and descended. Petals turned to snow, and the hundreds of millions of peonies became hundreds of millions of snowflakes, freezing the world. It was a lonely sword. The attack sang of the heavenly demon's lonely death. Of course. As the winter torrent struck him, Behurayam calmly looked up. A lonely death. Is this the death the leader of the demonic cult chose? Fine. I'll accept it. It's the perfect attack for the last warrior of a fallen world. A lonesome smile hung on Behurayam's mouth. But when it comes to solitude, I know it better than you. Behurayam gripped the hilt of his sword. How long did you last by yourself in this world? 3 years? 2? No. You haven't lasted a single day. After all, that fellow called the Murim Lord was by your side. When the Murim Lord dies, you lose your mind. The tip of his sword moved. I'm sorry, but... Then... I've endured 130 years by myself. Martial arts. Void form. First sword. The peony flowers were winter, spring, summer, autumn. Autumn, winter, spring, summer. Summer, autumn, winter, spring. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. Plum blossoms and peonies and roses and lilies. Lilies and plums and peonies and roses. The petal, to petals, petal, because they were petals. Red, was red, became red, red. Winter was. Because it became red. Again the winter. The winter. Her breath. Because it turned heavy. I regained my breath.
Ah.
I couldn't see. I couldn't hear. I couldn't understand the last attack at all.
Ha.
Huff, Yua.
Ha.
AA. However, there was something more important than understanding the sword right now. Moss, Tur. Master, are you all right? How is your body? Master stared wordlessly at the winter sky. Her eyes weren't focused. Thump. My heart leaped. I fumbled to hold Master's hand. Fumbling over and over again, until I could find her pulse. It was beating. She was alive. She was still alive. Master. Master slowly opened her lips. I see, Master said. So it was like that. Saying so, Master looked into my eyes. Disciple. Her dark pupils. My disciple. You. From the beginning, you were only thinking about how to help me. Saying that you came here from the outside world out of admiration for me. That was a lie. It was a bright red lie. Why didn't I see it before? My disciple isn't one to cross the world infatuated by a reputation. Her voice. Master's voice kept becoming smaller. Thank you, disciple. Were you happy that you met me? I nodded. Yes. Will you remember me as the single petal of a flower? Yes, Master. I'd like to know what type of flower it is. A peony, I replied. I held Master's body. I'll remember you as a red peony, Master. Oh ho. Master smiled. How pretty. She brushed her hand against my cheek. How pretty. Then, with her other hand, Master beckoned to the heavens. It was a weak and light gesture, like a baby bird flapping its wings. My disciple. Without a sound. Without a single sound, the snowy mountain was cut. The mountain, cut in two, remained there as if it had always been like that. Master exhaled a white breath. She must have been trying to dream a white dream. Master. I buried my face in Master's shoulder. In the stopped breath. In time. To the person who was born with the scent of snow. You've cut through winter. Master. You cut down the winter. That day. The winter of one world was cut. Chapter 85. A Reader's Mind. 1. I held on to Master for a long time. Even if a person's breath ends, their body remains. Death was a cruel and merciless thing. Sir. A long time later, I heard a voice calling me. The warriors in black uniforms, the elites of demonic cult, were surrounding me. Even as I silently held on to Master, the battle of good and evil raged on. Eventually, the demonic cult won the war. Since we were in the middle of a fight, we couldn't confirm it, but several cult members overheard that our sect leader called you disciple. The warrior asked nervously. Sir, are you the heavenly demon Nim's successor? I looked around. All the demonic cult members who survived the battle were staring at me, including the ones that Master had called the 4 demon lords. Some of them had nosebleeds, cut up lips, arms that were chopped off. All of them, soaked in blood, waited for my answer with bated breath. I don't know if I am. Didn't our sect leader accept you as a disciple? That's right. I clung a little tighter to Master's cold body. I am Master's disciple. The man's face hardened. If our sect leader accepted you as her disciple, she must have taught you the infernal heaven's demonic art. This request may be rude, but please. Sir. Demonstrate the infernal heaven's demonic art in front of us. His tone was polite, but he clearly meant that he couldn't believe I was the heavenly demon's disciple without evidence. I'm being treated as an heir just by being Master's disciple. I realized then. Why did Master hesitate so much about taking me as a disciple? It was because being a direct disciple of the heavenly demon meant inheriting the leadership of the demonic cult. Now, as the last of Master's warmth left this world, the mantle of cult leader fell onto me. All right. Is it enough if I use the sword of starvation? Yes. The sect leader said clearly that, if it is even slightly unsatisfactory, do not accept them as my successor. We may not be renowned swordsmen, but we have enough skill to discern the skill of other individuals. The other sect members began to whisper around us. Hey! What's the bloody demon talking about? What, you don't understand? If you look at him do one technique of the infernal heaven's demonic art, it'll be clear if he really is the heavenly demon's disciple. Really? But why is that bastard acting like our representative? I don't think we have anyone else who can act polite. He's from the Moyong family. Though he's an illegitimate child. What? That son of a bitch is from the Moyong family? Hey! Why are you acting so surprised? I told you this dozens of times before. Whatever. A river is a river, a mountain is a mountain, and a blockhead is still a blockhead no matter how much you try to educate him. What are you talking about? I'm saying that your cancerous existence is comparable to the Sichuan Tang clan's poisonous arts. Sword demon. As evidence of that, I am currently suffering from cancer. You are an amazing being when you consider that I have mastered 1,000 poison immunity. Oh. Is that a compliment? Fucking blockhead Sanuva bitch. Ahem. The bloody demon coughed. Then, he eyed the cult members who were handing back. It was a very dignified look. He seemed to be quietly pressuring the others to shut up. However, the sword demon and the flame ghost demon tilted their heads. What are you looking at? You wanna go? You're being rude. Go stare somewhere else. It feels gross. The bloody demon turned his head again and looked at me. His eyes seemed to say something like, nothing weird happened just now. Aha. I laughed a little. That's right. It was originally this sort of place. The demonic cult was made up of people who were mostly uneducated, falling back on the strength of their bodies. My master was refined and graceful, but on the whole, the demonic cult members were naturally ignorant about etiquette and manners. Hunger is. I did not draw my sword. I didn't want to bear a weapon while I was holding master's body. Instead, I coated my left hand in aura and struck. The attack carved into the snowfield. Children, waiting for the sun. Flinch. The bloody demon, who acted as the representative of the demonic cult, and the cult members who had been clamoring about all became silent. In the snowfield, my attack dug a deep valley into the ground that looked like a wound. I didn't finish with showing them just the first technique. Second form. Third form. Fourth form. All the techniques that I had learned to the extremes, I focused on my fingertips. Our surroundings became quiet. Was it thanks to glimpsing the desperate battle between Master and Bei Hu Ryong? Suddenly, the power of my strikes were sharper than before. This was another thing that Master arranged. I haven't fully learned the other techniques yet. It would be embarrassing to show you. Is this much all right? Crunch. The bloody demon kneeled in the snow. I greet the successor of the demonic path. The new heavenly demon. Behind him, the flame ghost demon, the Woliong demon lord, and the sword demon prostrated themselves, one after another. Crunch, crunch. Snow was crushed beneath their knees. All the cult members who survived the battle of good and evil fell to their knees on the field. We greet the successor of the demonic path. Our sect leader. I slowly opened my mouth. The title of heavenly demon is too much. I am already known as the Death King, and I would like Master's title to be forever in her name. However, calling me the sect leader is also excessive. I turned my head. By my side, Bei Hu Ryong was silent, arms folded and eyes closed. He was probably going over the match against Master in his mind. I looked at Bei Hu Ryong's face, then told the cult members. I'm still lacking in many areas. I have nothing that I could teach you. How can I call myself the sect leader? 1. Is the term, meaning literally schoolmaster, that would be a title just for the sake of having a title. The bloody demon looked to be at a loss. Heavenly demon Nim, in her entire life, never chose the wrong person. Since she has accepted you as her direct disciple, you are certainly fit to be the next sect leader. Thank you. However, I judge myself as still insufficient to take on the mantle of the cult's leader. The cult members began to murmur. Well then, how should we address you? We can't continue calling you, sir. Young Master, someone suggested. Can't we call him Young Master? It was the flame ghost demon. He was the cultist who said he would yield 3 turns to the Shaolin monk. His nose was still broken, and dried tracks from his nosebleed were on his upper lip. Calling someone young lord or young heir is common enough. If you are just saying that you're lacking to become our cult's master and not that you're refusing the lord, it should be all right to call you young master. Huh. I nodded. That much was acceptable. That sounds fine. The cultists sighed from relief. They looked at me with more comfortable expressions. Young master. I'd like to thank you formally. I don't know what kind of technique you used, but we all remember being bitten by the Jiangshi. If it weren't for young master, we wouldn't have been able to finish the battle of good and evil and show our allegiance to heavenly demon Nim. The martial artist bowed. I am the first rank of the 4 demon lords. Bloody demon. I command all of the blood guard. On their behalf, I swear loyalty to young master. Dozens of cultists bowed along with him. I am the first rank of the 4 demon lords. Flame ghost demon. I command all members of the memorial squadron. I swear allegiance to young master. First of the 4 demon lords. Demon Lord Woliong. The Shadow Corps squadron swears loyalty to young master. I'm the sword demon. With the assassination squad, I promise you our loyalty. Dozens more. I slowly placed master down. Master looked like a flower blooming on the white snowfield. Placing down the single peony petal, I bowed to the demonic cult members. It is my wish that as long as my life does not end, the doctrine of shadows will continue on. It was at that moment. Stages cleared. You have cleared the quest, remake the world. Volume 1 foot. How long had it been since I heard this voice? Today, the 22nd floor stage has been cleared. Announcing to everyone again. Today, the 22nd floor stage has been cleared. It really felt like a long time since I heard this. Calculating challengers. Calculation complete. Not releasing my stance, I spoke. I have a request for everyone. Please take care of Master's funeral. The 4 challengers are being announced. The snowy mountain, split in 2 at Master's beckoning. Characters were engraved in the sky above the mountain peaks. Plus. Level of contribution rank. Rank 1. Death King. Rank 2. Alchemist. Rank 3. Venomous Snake. Rank 4. Medicine King. Plus. Don't make the funeral fancy. Master wouldn't want it that way. Master will be happy if you just stay where you are until the funeral ends. For Master, please. Please. I didn't finish my sentence. I didn't have to, nor could I finish it. In the blink of an eye, I was no longer in the snowfield. Welcome. Death King Nim. The great library of all things. I've been anxiously waiting for you. The constellation, the librarian, smiled and looked at me. Congratulations. The librarian was floating in the air. His 5-meter-long sleeves fluttered like goldfish fins. The last word in the Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon was the word please. The word please is a wish for someone. Wish, prayer. In the demonic sect, they memorized it as Baraya. Please and Baraya can be regarded as synonyms. In that sense, it's a really suitable ending. Just a moment. I ended the librarian's long lecture. I felt a sense of discomfort. This was my second time coming to the Great Library. I stayed up several nights reading books. I had become quite familiar with this place. However, I could clearly see something different from last time. Why are all the other hunters passed out? The hunters who participated in the Apocalypse Challenge. All 250 of them, hunters who had titles and nicknames, were collapsed on the floor. The librarian raised the corner of his mouth. Don't worry. I just put them to sleep for a while. Put them to sleep? Yes. It's a fragrance that's harmless to the human body. The librarian reached out his hand. Dozens of books floated around the constellation. One of them was a book titled The Story of Yonhyang City. There are many worlds like yours that communicate with words, but there are also worlds that communicate with songs and others still that communicate through scent. In this apocalypse, people talk with the scent of anger, the scent of sorrow, and the scent of joy. Of course, there's also a scent of sleep. I was tense and alert. Please don't look at me with those eyes. I wanted to talk to Death King Nim, so I made the surroundings quiet for a while. A talk. What kind of thing are you going to tell me after making my colleagues faint? Colleague. As expected, Death King Nim. You can regard them as tiresome, useless luggage, but you say it so naturally that you think of them as colleagues. I have no choice but to shed another tear at the admirable heart of Death King Nim. I could see every move that your party made from here. It was like a movie. It was a moving and exciting scene. Really. Everyone here would have welcomed you enthusiastically. The librarian giggled. But if I let them, it would have been a long time before I could speak with you. Since my turn would be pushed back by a lot. The librarian shrugged. I had to settle down the others for a moment so that I could talk with you. Don't worry. Even if it looks like this, I used the most moderate method to put them to sleep. It was hard to believe. I looked around my surroundings. I saw the witch. She was leaning against a bookshelf with her long hair hanging down. I approached the witch and lightly searched for her pulse. Thump. Thump. Thank goodness. Her complexion looked fine and her breathing was normal. After checking that my colleague was safe, I looked back at the librarian. If you have something to say, please say it quickly and wake everyone up. Aren't you hurrying too much? I want to talk more slowly with the two of us. I deliberately left the other challengers to summon just you. I haven't finished everything on the 22nd floor yet. I also have to find a sword. Next time. The librarian's eyes looked like an upside-down half-moon. You can investigate later. The air was filled with tension. The librarian was small, so some people may look down on him. However, he was someone who could summon strange monsters from another world at will. Didn't he swallow up 50 hunters at once last time? No matter how much I've learned of the infernal heaven's demonic art, I'll lose for certain if I fight him now. I swallowed my spit. What do you want to talk about? The librarian's smile deepened. It's a very intimate story. Flutter. The librarian fluttered his sleeves and landed on the floor. He approached me and pulled something out from his sleeves. It was a pair of scissors. Why scissors, all of a sudden? Your hair is quite long. Death King Nim. I will trim it for you. The librarian tiptoed and started to cut my hair with a snip, snip. He didn't cut much. Maybe about half of the hair from the back of my head? The librarian put the cut hair in a red silk pouch. Your nails are long, too. It's a big problem if someone who claims to be a martial artist doesn't care for their nails. I'll clip them. The librarian pulled another object out of his sleeves. It was a nail clipper. The librarian grabbed my right hand and cut my fingernails. He did all of them, from the pinky to the thumb. And each nail was put in a different silk pouch.
Hey,
Librarian Nim? Yes. What are you going to do with these? Death King Nim. The librarian stooped his back. He kneeled on the floor. And, as if it were natural, he took off my shoes. Say that you really, really, really like someone. Really. I'll try. Why? There's nothing you don't like about that person, from their toes to their head. It's love. It truly is a noble and pure love. But the problem is that the person doesn't exist in reality, but only on paper. It is a character that exists only in a novel. The librarian took off my socks. But then, Tada. What providence is this? My ideal novel character appeared in front of my eyes. Now. At this time, what do you think I feel about Death King Nim? The librarian said seriously. As he held a toenail clipper. Yes. That's what it is. It's like that. What's like what? Don't move. What are you doing? If you move, my nail clippers may leave disgusting scars on your marble-like toe. That'd be a big problem. Why are you getting angry at me? Get away from me right now. Wait a moment. Just a moment, please. I'll stop with just your pinky toe. Just one toenail. You can concede this much, right? Why is a constellation acting like such a pervert? If you don't want to give me your toenails, how about 3 eyebrow hairs? Only then did I realize the source of my discomfort. You weren't the type to speak so politely before. That's right. The constellation, the librarian, did not use honorifics like Nim. He used to speak while looking down on us. That was definitely how it used to be, but now, for some reason, he was using honorifics for me. This was why I felt something was off. Use your normal speech patterns. The librarian's lips wobbled. Impossible. How could I, a lowly creature, dare to speak down to the shining Gongjanim? This was insane. The librarian wants your pinky toenail clipping. Totally crazy. Character window. While I was struggling, determined to not give up my toenails to the librarian, letters popped up in front of me. Plus. Name, Corner Librarian, 1. Favorability, 95. Favorite genres, fusion, romance, mystery, adventure, horror, history, war, sports, SF, myth, fairy tales. Disliked genres, not applicable. Favorite characters, character, constellation killer. Hated characters, not applicable. Favorite plot, story. Hated plot, serial discontinuation. Psychological state, toenails. If possible, I should get his eyebrows too. I'd like to ask him for some beard hair after he grows a beard, but that probably won't work. Shining Gongjanim. Shine. 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 What a brilliant protagonist. I want to make you a bookmark and keep you forever. Plus. He's deranged. Chapter 86. A Reader's Mind. 2. It was creepy. A favorability rating of 95. And the scene of what happened when the favorability rating reached that high was unfolding in front of me right now. Glow Janim. Until I met you, I was only the blind Shimbongsa, the librarian shouted, squatting as he grabbed the soles of my feet. 1. I was deaf until I heard you speak. The librarian's eyes seemed to sparkle as he tried to clip my little toenail. You are my light. You are my music. His eyes were scary. Since your name means Confucius, I'll gladly convert to Confucianism. I will be a scholar only for you.
Ah.
A king needs a friend-like retainer who shares his opinions. From today onwards, I am a Confucian scholar who supports Gongjinim. Hey. Just hey. What kind of demented scholar tries to collect someone's pinky toenail clippings? I wanted to ask the librarian that question, but I stopped when I saw his eyes and realized he wasn't in his right mind. His eyes showed that no matter what I said, he would clearly ignore it. First of all, his breathing was ragged. If you keep acting like this, I won't enter any more apocalypses. Pause. The librarian let go of my feet. Creepily, his fingers still twitched even as he stopped manhandling my feet. Was he crazy? The librarian pondered over his thoughts like a scholar in deep sorrow. Indeed. It's an effective threat. For a moment, I was relieved that my words had worked. But analyzing Gongjinim's character, that'll never happen. What? Character analysis? It's because Gongjinim knows. There are many other characters like the heavenly demon who are withering away unjustly in the other apocalypses. Considering Gongjinim's personality, you won't be able to resist helping those people. The librarian smiled. Don't look down at a Gongjimaniac. I know Gongjinim better than you know yourself. I can describe the energy bars that Gongjinim ate on the first day you entered the Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon, what hand you used to do it, what sort of expression you had, all over 2 pages. He must be crazy, right? This is crazy. He's crazy. Now, Gongjinim. Be obedient and give me what you should give me. I was being shockingly conscientious when I didn't force you to sleep with the scent. I'm also shocked by your conscience. Gongjinim can't understand. Nobody has ever understood me before.
Ah.
Alas. How terrible is it that I've never been understood in my life? How cold is such a human heart? Even so, if I understand Gongjinim. Step away from me before I say, I hate you. Thud. This time, the librarian really stopped. Take 5 steps away from me. Otherwise, I'll really say it. The librarian meekly stepped back. Please use your normal way of speaking. It's kind of gross. Seriously. And please return my hair and my nails. I cannot. Why, you're being completely unreasonable. His old way of speaking had returned. The librarian was crying while hugging the silk pouches tightly. I'd rather that you cut my head off. No. Wait, just a moment. Gongja. Right now, that was a hyperbole. Please don't make that expression, like you're really deciding whether or not to cut off my head. That will seriously hurt my feelings. Like a disheartened hamster, the librarian began to mutter. Eventually, I succeeded in calming him down. After burning up a silk pouch of unpleasant things, there was a terrible scream involved. The librarian and I managed to start talking for real. It was magnificent. First, the librarian reviewed the newly completed Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon. Your dedication to the Heavenly Demon was truly admirable. I could see the ending when you became her disciple. But you didn't stop there. The final battle of good and evil. The greatest match. Yes, the Heavenly Demon must have felt like she was eating sweet chocolate ice cream. Has the world from the Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon been transferred to the 22nd floor? Yes. The librarian grinned. Other hunters will be able to enter the 22nd floor. They'll also be able to learn skills by looking at the texts stored in the key in Mugwin. It's all thanks to your work, Gongja. I put my hand on my chin. There was something I was wondering about while we were in the apocalypse. I want to ask you this. Ask me anything. I'll answer almost anything. Stop trying to sneakily take off my shoes like there's nothing wrong. Why was the Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon an apocalypse? The librarian cocked his head to the side. My question seemed to be unfamiliar to him. Why?
Does
a book need a specific reason to be an apocalypse? I think so. I put my shoes back on. Librarian Nim, do you like happy endings? Or do you prefer sad endings? Both of them have their merits, the librarian replied immediately. An ending is like a port where the characters' lives come to a conclusion. Life can be happy, or it can be rough. A general reader wants the characters to be happy, but I also want to hug them tightly when they fail or are sad. Which means that even unhappy endings are still proper conclusions. Yes. Obviously. That's why I have more questions. I grabbed the librarian's wrist, which was trying to go behind my back, and took away the scissors. The librarian hopped up and down, trying to take back the scissors, but he wasn't tall enough. Even if I didn't interfere, the Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon would have a proper conclusion. Even if it is sad. Master and the Murim Lord did their best up to the end. They continued making an effort. Even though the Murim Lord died first and Master went mad. Master still reached the conclusion. I looked into the librarian's eyes. Why was the Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon included as an apocalypse? Library Director Nim. Why didn't the Murim Lord's death and Master's madness count as a proper ending? In fact, I was thinking about this question ever since I saw the fairy tale, Me and Our Scapegoat. Apart from whether or not I could accept the ending, the world looked like it had reached a logical conclusion. The constellation was silent. In the library, there were only the quiet breaths of the knocked-out hunters. Seek, seek. Among the rising and falling of the hunters' chests, the librarian was expressionless. I wanted to see a happy ending for some reason. Would something like that reason not work? If you don't like the ending, Librarian Nim can fix it yourself. Librarian Nim is strong. In the eyes of a hunter like me, you seem to be omnipotent and omniscient. But even so, instead of fixing the apocalypse, you sent us. In other words, this constellation was a reader. He was a reader who didn't want to intervene in the story but just receive it as it was. He had no desire to ever be a writer. He could correct the wrongs, but he refused to do so. A reader who would never intervene himself. The corner librarian. Shall I do a character analysis, too? A thorough person like you would not call something an apocalypse just because the ending was weird. The Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon and the other apocalypse, too. In fact, there's another reason that the apocalypses are classified as such. You won't just let this go. The librarian smiled bitterly. Follow me. The librarian grabbed my hand. With the other hand, he picked up a book. The title of the book was The Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon. I will tell you the truth of the apocalypses. The constellation opened the book. Then, my vision was covered with light. When I opened my eyes, we were in the world of snowfields. However, we did not need to walk on the snow. The librarian was still holding my hand tightly, his long sleeves fluttering like the wings of wild geese in the winter sky. What if? Over the snowfield. What if the zombie virus was a disease that developed on its own in the Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon? If that was the case. As you said, I would never have called this place an apocalypse. We crossed a snowy mountain. That means the zombie virus did not originate here. It's a contagion that flowed from outside. It is as if the new world was invaded by external forces. 2.
Ha!
The librarian let out a white breath. Over there, you can see it. It was a high mountain peak. The sacred mountain of this world. On top of the mountain, which reached up to the sky, there was something huge. Shiny has detected an ominous energy. The holy sword by my waist trembled. Noting that, the librarian said, "Oh ho. It seems that your sword can feel it too. That's not unusual. Since your sword had originally been a whole constellation. It is a given that one quickly recognizes others who are in similar positions to them." A similar position. Gongja. Have you ever seen a constellation's fallen form? Fallen. The devil king of fall rain. Preta. Yes, I have. Then, have you ever seen the body left behind by the death of the constellation? As expected, you haven't. The librarian had a lonely smile. It's quite the rare sight, so take advantage of this opportunity to see it. It was a dragon. More precisely, it was the corpse of a dragon. A dragon lay dead at the mountain's peak. The leather, which once had been smooth like silk, was burned black. The horns on the dragon's head rustled like coal. Its magic pearl, broken into two, was buried in the snow. Also, Shiny detects the presence of her sisters. There was a sword embedded in the middle of its chest. Shiny says that it is the guardian sword's second sister, the sword of compassion. A black energy, Takgi, flowed out of the sword. If we were talking about its characteristics, we could call it an aura. However, it was not a normal aura. It was similar to the one that covered the Devil King of Fall Rain. No, it was murkier than that. The surging Takgi wrapped around the dragon and covered the top of the snowy mountain. When white snow fell on the mountain peak, the Takgi immediately infected it and turned it black. It hurts. Black snow. It's painful. The dark eyes of the black dragon seemed to moan. It hurts. It hurts, Anne. It's agonizing. It's painful. It stings. It's bitter. It hurts. For a moment, I was at a loss for words. Didn't you say that it was dead? Over there, that dragon is still alive even now. It is already dead. What you see and hear is nothing more than a corpse's resentment. When an existence reaches the level of a constellation, they cannot die graciously, even if they do die. The two of us landed on the mountain peak. The black dragon was endlessly groaning on. Looking at the death of a constellation, the librarian's eyes seemed to be filled with regret. The plague that your party called the zombie virus. The true nature of it is a curse. A curse. Yes. It is the curse left as the constellation of this martial arts world. The yellow dragon who stays at the Dynasty Lake died. It is a grudge of being unable to die even when dead. Even though they have already died, the corpse remains and must endure further agony. When they were infected with such a curse, the people of this world became Jiangshi. I looked up at the dragon's corpse. It hurts. The host of the virus. The epicenter of the curse. The disease that destroyed this world began with that corpse. In the end, Master died because of the dragon's curse. If the constellation didn't stab itself in the heart, it means someone else killed it. That makes sense. Who is the culprit? You already have a good idea of who did it. I ground my teeth. Lafanta Ejim. Correct? The librarian nodded. His nickname is the Constellation Killer. He is a person who crosses the boundaries of the world and kills constellations. Shiny said that a constellation was like the representative of a world. And a world that has lost its constellation is like a castle that has lost its ramparts. The likelihood that it will face an insolent destruction increases. Apocalypse. A world where the representative died and all its inhabitants disappeared. Why did he kill ordinary constellations? He founded the Egyptian Empire, so he should quietly act as the emperor of his own country. Why is he going around ruining worlds? That's something that I cannot answer. The librarian stared attentively at my face. I am only a reader. You pointed to me and called me omniscient and omnipotent, but this isn't true. I may be omniscient, but not omnipotent. I can know the truth of a world, but I cannot intervene there. The librarian, who had spoken self-deprecatingly, suddenly pointed at my waist. However, you are different. The sword hanging by my side. You, who can intervene, are intervening again. Whether you want to or not, you're fixing things that someone else has broken, one by one. Once, it's a coincidence. Twice, it's a connection. But with the third time, it becomes an inevitability. You have saved an empire that had been abandoned by the constellation killer. You have taken the constellation shattered by the constellation killer, and now, you have come to a world led to collapse by the constellation killer, said the librarian. The means of killing, the yellow dragon of Dynasty Lake, was both vicious and cruel. An ordinary person cannot even touch that sword. But you are able to. Gongja. You have created an inevitability with your coincidences and connections. I looked at the black dragon's corpse again. I muttered in my mind. Shiny. The holy sword trembled a little. Shiny replies, yes, warrior. How do I collect your sister's sword? Shiny says, you just need to pull her out and touch the sister's sword. All right. I drew my sword. The winter air split. I struck the sword embedded in the black dragon's chest with my sword. The guardian goddess absorbs a piece of herself. In an instant, my sword was surrounded by light. Chapter 87. A Reader's Mind. 3. A light flowed from my sword and covered the black dragon. The compassion sword resists the absorption. However, there was a substantial amount of rebellious energy working against me. Srung. A dark malice inundated me like a summer monsoon of sewage. It was like a black panther who had been sleeping quietly and had been startled awake by a touch. The compassion sword is baffled. She censures her sister and asks if she betrayed Lafanta Ejim. The guardian goddess is comforting her sister. The light of the holy sword and the shadow of the black dragon fuse together messily. The compassion sword demands the new owner to prove himself. White and black. Neither side would simply back off. The constellation's power is great. It should never be given to an unqualified person. The compassion sword does not yet recognize you as a new lord. All right. I looked calmly at the sword embedded in the black dragon's chest. You have a point. But how should I prove my worth? Tatki continued to leak from the black dragon's body. It was throbbing. The malice was incomparable to what was there before. And that malice took on a shape. A dark angel. It was an angel made up of sooty water from toe to head. I am a fragment made out of the goddess's compassion. If you want to prove that you can be someone's idol, 1. You must prove that you can be compassionate. The expressionless angel spread its wings. Even those wings looked murky. Black spittle dripped from the 2 open wings. I ask you to leave your mind and body to me for a little while. Why should I? To peek into your memories. The light emitted by the holy sword became a little brighter. The guardian goddess cannot agree to this. If you travel together, you will end up seeing Warrior Nim's qualifications to be the new owner. There is no reason to take unnecessary risks. No. It's fine. I sheathed the sword. I can't carry a sword around my waist that doesn't believe in me. Even if it's the greatest sword in the world, I wouldn't be able to stand the uneasiness. Come. Come and look at my memories or whatever until you're satisfied. It was the moment I opened my arms wide. The compassion sword is testing your compassion. The angel's 2 wings covered my sight. Like a mother bird wrapped around its chick, huge black wings surrounded my body. It was dark everywhere. Then, a dreamlike scene appeared in front of me. Kind man. A garden on fire. Hang in there. You poor things. A paradise engulfed in smoke. The whole world has become empty. A snowfield in which peonies bloomed red. You are my disciple. The garden, the paradise, and the snowfield passed through quickly in turns. Suddenly, my darkened vision became bright. The angel's wings that covered my eyes had gone away. The black angel hurriedly gathered his wings and looked at me. The fragment of the constellation was still expressionless. However, the black eyes under his dark brows could not hide his bewilderment. You are. I'm not perfect. I spoke first. I'm weak for others' goodwill. I want to gain their favor. I can be a little unreasonable because of that. I really love being praised, and I struggle because I want others to see me as a good person. Maybe that's my weakness. The constellation fragment closed its mouth. And your former owner wasn't perfect, either. I don't know what sort of magnificent vision Lafanta Ejim had to kill the constellations. Not yet, at least. Maybe he's doing it for noble reasons. But even if he has a good reason, I'm still going to say that he did something wrong. I lifted my sword and pointed it at the black angel. If you think your old owner was perfect and never did anything wrong, don't follow me. I don't need such a sword. The black angel slowly opened her mouth. Do you intend to kill Lafanta Ejim? If he deserves to be killed. Can you promise me that your personal feelings will not affect your judgment of him? I don't know. I was speaking honestly. My master died. The world is ruined. Too many people were hurt and killed, so I don't know. But I promise that I'll do my best. So if you think I'll stray from the right path, do your best to correct me. I'll do my best. And you can do yours. That's what it means to work together. The black angel's wings were crumbled. My ability is pain. The one who is cut by me feels pain, but I do not leave a scar on their body nor kill them. Suffering without injury is my ability. The angel's form collapsed. It collapsed and became black water. New master. I swear to serve you as best as I can. Schwak. The black liquid swirled and flowed into the holy sword I was holding. It was like a violent flood. The holy sword drank in all the water like a thirsty fox in the desert. The existence of the guardian goddess has become more pronounced. The changes didn't stop there. Oh. It was the mythical beast that had been the constellation of this world. The black dragon groaned as the blade stuck in its chest was absorbed into my sword. Ugh. The black dragon had been killed a long time ago. It was like it didn't have enough of a mind to express anything in words anymore. The black dragon just murmured as if it were an old woman, tired of life.
Oh.
Finally, the corpse of the black dragon turned into essence and flowed away. Its horn crumbled and shattered. Its scales melted like a candle. The beast that reigned over a world met its end. And the winter gave way. The permanent snow cap on the mountain crumbled apart. It was an avalanche. From the top of the mountain, I could look down at the snow that broke under my feet and poured over into the world. Winter is the season of death. Next to me, the librarian also looked down at the landscape. You've ended this lonely season. A white avalanche swept over the white world. But what was left behind after the avalanche had passed was no longer white. The brown dirt of the ground could be seen. Brown was the color of this world's flesh. The long winter finally came to an end, and the ground began to bare its skin. How was it that the spring breeze was so different from the gusts of winter? Would Master know where the scent of spring came from? Library Director Nim. You can speak. I have a benefit from clearing the previous stage, so I can see people's natures. I can see the person's favorite plots and character type. I know. The librarian exhaled. The breaths that we let out were no longer frozen white. I am the one in charge from the 21st to the 30th floor. The perks that you received were also prepared by me. Since I was the one who gave it to you, of course I know. Your preferred character is the Constellation Killer. It is. Why do you like the Constellation Killer? Lafanta Ejim is a human who kills constellations. I could understand why you would hate him, but I don't see a reason to like him. Ahem. The librarian closed his right eye. Since you asked, I'll give you a special answer. For a long time, I have had a dream. A dream, you say? Exactly. It is to make an appearance in a novel that I enjoy. The eyes of the constellation shone innocently. I was puzzled. If it's appearing in a novel, can't you do that right now? You can freely travel through the apocalypses. Hoo-hoo. You don't understand the reader's mind, I see. Appearing in a novel is a bit different from intervening with the novel. No, it's very different. The librarian laughed, covering his mouth with his sleeves. From the apocalypse's perspective, I am no different than an alien matter. An alien matter, an invasive species. An existence that should not naturally occur in that world. The Constellation Killer, who killed the dragon in the Murim world, is on the same level as I am in terms of being a foreign body. But I do not want to intervene in a novel as an outsider. Nope. That's not allowed. I want to appear as a respectable character who has been in the world from the beginning, just like the other characters. This is my dream as a reader of the world. I still didn't understand. The librarian looked at my face and laughed. Then, this time, I'll ask. Gongja. Why didn't you kill the heavenly demon? The heavenly demon mastered how to kill with her mind in her final moments. Even though she was no longer as strong as she was in her prime, you could have used the 100 ghost skill on her and make use of her memories. The heavenly demon thought well of you, so she would have been a strong ally and an excellent master. So why didn't you kill the heavenly demon? That's...
Shh.
The librarian raised his index finger and blocked my lips. It's all right. You don't have to say it. I already understand. Softly. His fingers pressed against my lips. You did not want to interfere with the last moments that your master achieved. It's the same for me. I don't want to directly intervene with the end of the world. Your heart and mine are not so different. Suddenly, the scenery over the horizon melted. The sun shone over the lake where the ice road had collapsed and exposed the surface of the water. I refuse to intervene. That means that there is only one way I can become a character in a story. What is it? It's simple if you think about it from the other point of view. I don't go up to the protagonist of the novel, the protagonist comes to find me. The librarian whispered. Lafanta Ejim. The constellation killer tirelessly murders constellations and moves back and forth between different worlds. One day, he'll come to visit my world, the greatest library of all time. The librarian smiled. To kill me. The constellation pulled something out of his sleeves. It was a book that looked no different from the other apocalypses. But it looked more worn out than the rest. Did he take it out and read it dozens, maybe hundreds of times? Like an old writer's notebook, the book's leather binding was weathered. The Epic of Lafanta Ejim. The title was engraved with gold thread on the leather. I am waiting for the day that the constellation killer will visit the Grand Library. I look forward to seeing him stand in front of me one day, following his own story and his own will. That day, I will finally appear in the story of Lafanta Ejim. Even if the conclusion of that story is your own death? Of course. The librarian smiled. The constellation looked over the landscape of melting snow. His sleeves fluttered like a dancing crane. Isn't dying at the hands of the protagonist the greatest epilogue? I had wanted to give a eulogy. Oh, young master. Before returning to the library, I stopped by the cult members. I wanted to make sure that Master's funeral was being taken care of properly. Welcome back. Welcome, young master. As soon as the members of the cult saw me, they bowed and greeted me. However, I felt that they were flustered for some reason. It wasn't just one or two people, but all of them who were rushing away. I tilted my head. Is the funeral over already? No. Young master. Well, the funeral is still. Did something happen? The cult members exchanged looks. That's. The body of heavenly demon Nim has disappeared. The bloody demon, one of the 4 demon lords, said. He was the cultist that Master often called the leader of the Blood Guard. What? You'll understand more quickly if you see it. Young master. I hurriedly walked where the bloody demon led me. Shortly thereafter, I arrived at the place where I had let down Master's body. Then, I was at a loss for words. Suddenly, the snow all over the world began to melt. Heavenly Demon Nim's body also disappeared. I apologize. It was so sudden, in the blink of an eye, that we had no time to react. Where the snow melted. Master's body was not there. I couldn't see it no matter where I looked. We think that Heavenly Demon Nim's internal energy was so pure that as time passed, her body naturally melted and disappeared. However, a red flower was blooming there. In the last place Master had laid. Where her arm touched the ground. Where she planted her feet. Where her hair flowed. There, reddish peony flowers were in full bloom. Amazing. Bei Hurayong, who had been silent until now, muttered. The constellation of this world died and left only a curse, but your master died and left behind a flower. Your master is better than that empty constellation. I approached the flower bed and bent down. I touched the peony petal with the tip of my finger. The petal trembled a little, staining my index finger red as I rubbed it. It was the first spring in this world. Of course, we're still preparing the funeral, the bloody demon said from behind me. We had hoped that young master would be able to attend. No. I shook my head. It's all right. Don't carry out the funeral. What? This is enough. I stood up. I turned my head to look back at the cult members. Although I received the mantle and became the young master, I'm sure there are those of you who cannot accept it yet. We live by strength. It is customary for the strongest warrior to arise to the highest position of a sect. Instead of a trivial funeral, let's substitute it with a sword match. It's also probably customary to offer what is the most valuable object at a funeral. And do we not value our swords the most? So, let us offer our swords to Master. I laughed. Come at me. Spring was coming. Like all living people do. My next story would begin on a stage a little higher than the last. Chapter 88. Dead ends are the norm. 1. I'm moving the headquarters of the Chenmumum to the 22nd floor, said the venomous snake. It was a few days after our group conquered the Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon. What? I decided to move. We'll move the whole dojo. Just as you inherited the will of the demonic cult, I became the disciple of the Muram Lord, you know? And Chenmumun is my guild. Therefore, it's only right that they follow me to the Muram Alliance. The venomous snake calmly read the novel. Like I saw last time, the venomous snake was a fan of reading. Although his hobbies were very lopsided, there were a lot of books here that satisfied his weird tastes. The venomous snake, wearing glasses, no frames, just for style, market value of 9,801, turned the page of a book with a magic cover, a hero-grade item that can be put on any book and change the title and cover design at will, market value of 2,000 gold. My teacher is also half disabled, but he still has his arms and legs. The alchemist somehow made it possible for him to move around. Therefore, I intend to place him as the Taesang Hobiop. The Muram Lord as the Taesang Hobiop.
Yeah.
He's heartbroken because the heavenly demon died. When I see that, I get all depressed, the venomous snake said bluntly. The Hobiop was the bastion of a clan. Literally, it means someone who watches over traditions. Among them, the Taesang Hobiop was the highest. The venomous snake was actually trying to set up the Muram Lord as the most important elder. In that case, it's better that he's distracted. Such as by being busy teaching the younger students. It'll also help our guild members become stronger. I was a little surprised. Wasn't that really thoughtful? The venomous snake's hand stopped turning the pages of the book as if he felt my gaze. Oi, Death King. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm not. I was just admiring that the heads of the top 5 guilds are definitely something else. I had wondered how this ridiculous otaku was so popular with his subordinates, but there was a reason. It was because he took care of his people. Is that so? The venomous snake blushed and scratched his nose. Ahem. Dee, don't get me wrong. I just did something that should be done. The world gets too melancholy if you praise someone for doing what is reasonable. The world shouldn't become sad just because of me. What a bad feeling. I didn't say anything. Anyway, I felt troubled when I heard the venomous snake speak. Taking good care of your people. It was a problem I had been thinking about even before I entered the Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon. I also reached the 3rd place ranking as a hunter. But was it enough just to have a high ranking and know some martial arts? Popularity. Virtue. Wasn't this the time when I should develop such a mindset? Let's see. A person who I can say is one of my people here. I want another sword match. I really want another damn match. The overwhelming and diabolic sword fight. I'm so hungry for a match with my life on the line. Zombie, let's go to a martial arts novel for the next apocalypse. This time, let's go to a Muram world where instead of the demonic cult, the evil sect dominates. Let's go to an evil sect master. No. This man isn't really. Gongja. With special consideration, the main office has made nail cutters tailored for your fingers and toes. If you feel my handiwork as I snip your nails, you'll never want to clean your fingernails and toenails yourself again. Just 3 minutes. No, just 2 minutes. Please leave your hands and feet to me for 120 seconds. Not this perverted constellation, either. I reject him even more. Shiny sings today as well. The brilliant feats of the warrior Nim. The figure of the manly warrior who spoke so eloquently at the fortress of the Ejim Empire, the struggle of the warrior who was as beautiful as he was desperate in the Miram world. Oh, Shiny is so happy to see the hero's esteemed face even today. Long live the warrior! Hooray! Hooray! Ha! Was it possible that nobody around me was normal? Not at all? Was this for real? Strange. I was normal. I was a model student who tried to live normally. But why was I surrounded by only crazy ghosts, kooky constellations, and ditzy swords? Thinking about it, all 3 of them weren't even human. This was nuts. Was this my destiny? If this was my destiny, wasn't it a bit like a dog? Was God perhaps a dog? This Siberian husky-like. 1. Aha, Death King. What are you thinking about? Heretic questioner. I was thinking that it would be nice if you go to the 13th floor and negotiate with the priests of Ejim. It would be nice if newbie hunters could take quests there. Oh. I was thinking the same thing. Death King and I are on the same wavelength, thinking about how we can help everyone. I'll be back. After chasing out the blonde corgi bear-like man, I became less and less confident in my companions. There. Death King Nim. A savior appeared before my despairing eyes. I succeeded in mass-producing the zombie virus treatment. The medicinal components should also be commonly available. If people get vaccinations in advance, they won't have any problems going around the 22nd floor. This is the person. Boss. Why yes. Death King Nim. Do you have any plans to move? As I spoke about the plan I had right after the confrontation between the alchemist and the medicine king, the alchemist blinked. What? Your store is too small right now. Since you cleared this stage, the value of your name increased even more, so you'll have to expand it. You'll have a lot of orders. Would you be able to handle the demand with your store right now? That. I was also thinking about expanding the store. The price of real estate on the 1st floor is. You know how it is. I have to get a big loan. The Count showed me some kind of contract, saying that she would pay for it all. No, you should never sign that. Who does he think he is? He was a cat that put his paws on someone else's fish. The real estate. If it's something like that, I'll give it all to you. I shouted loudly. In addition, I'll pay for the moving costs and interior costs. I'll take care of everything, so please just bring yourself without worrying. The alchemist opened her mouth. Really? Yes. Did you know that the 20th floor is my property? I'll arrange a nice spot for you. You just have to show up. The alchemist opened and closed her mouth again. She didn't seem to believe my proposition. But I was saying it sincerely. What good is land if I don't make use of it? It was not a waste to invest in a colleague who would become the master of the alchemy castle in the future. I smiled. In exchange, please make the medicine or potions I ask for with a slightly higher priority. Does that sound good? Oh, of course. I'm already doing that for you. What should I do? I'm receiving too many things from Death King Nim. The corner of the alchemist's mouth trembled. She was saying this and that, but a good thing was a good thing. The alchemist was embarrassed, but she couldn't hide her joy. Her tightly clasped hands seemed to shout, "Score! Let's go," on the inside. My mind was also pleased.
Yeah.
It feels rewarding to take care of people. At that moment. Ahem. Ahem. Ahem, KHMPH.
Uh-huh.
Kiddo. Did you forget something? The Medicine King was standing there. I couldn't detect him at all until he was right behind me. Did this old man learn an interesting technique in the Murim world without me knowing? It was quite the skill. I wish I had some more land in my old age as well. He glanced at me. Oh, my store is so old these days that it smells stale. It often gets damp, too. It's so bad for my back. Because it is on the 3rd floor, my knees squeak as I go up and down the stairs every day. Another glance. It would be great if a nice young man gave me a roughly 100,000 pyong place with good air, too. I'm sorry. Excuse my rude friend. The sword saint approached and grabbed the back of the Medicine King. Like that, he dragged him away. While being dragged, the Medicine King raised his voice and screamed. Geez. In what country does a friend interfere instead of help with someone's business deals? Did they teach you that in Northern Europe? Marcus, you bastard. You're from a prestigious Jabal family, but your business ethics are like a beggar's. My friend. I know you're upset about being old, but you don't have to be indecent, too. You already make a lot of money. It's a deficit, a deficit. The orders have stalled lately. Alchemist. You there, alchemist kid. Last match I had given it away. In fact, I don't have the power to stand in the way of Sean McAllister's victory road. Just say something like this. Can't you just do that for me? The hunters in the great library looked at the Medicine King. The alchemist had seen the Medicine King through new eyes after doing the joint research and working on the surgery together, enough to call him her elder, but now, she regarded him again like he was a water flea, saying, "Whoa." The venomous snake, who had been quietly reading novels, grumbled. Frick. Why do the heroines always die in all the novels I read? Is this the trend these days? Like I thought, this group had no normal people. Opening a new pharmacy for the alchemist on the 20th floor proceeded without difficulty. The cost of construction materials were adequately covered by the gold received from the lottery. There was no problem with manpower, either. Look here, Death King. I told you, I can reduce the cost of the construction materials. And that's not all. I can recruit more than enough people to build it. Just sign this contract along with the alchemist. I said it's fine. After ditching the count, who kept lingering like a cat on a laptop, I looked back at Preta. Is everything going well? Yes, my lord. The construction progress is going smoothly. Preta, wearing a yellow helmet, a green armband, and a pink whistle in her mouth led the construction. The labor force to be used for the construction was replaced by skeletons that were called forth using the 100 Ghosts reincarnation. This fucking... Shh! *T. Hey! You bastard, beggar's foot bandage. What kind of grudge do you have against me? Why am I stuck between some bones and have to move stones? Talk to me, fuckers. There was one gap where there was a young man with a ponytail and an extraordinarily strong mouth, but the construction continued to progress without a problem as the vast majority of the construction workers were skeletons who moved in perfect order. In the middle of the smooth construction, the alchemist, and the Chen Mumun master, and I signed an agreement. There. I guess that's about done. The contents of the agreement were as follows. There are still many juncture on the 22nd floor. Which means there are many mobs. And there are a lot of ruined channels everywhere. There are also many dungeons.
Yeah.
So, our Chinmumun will have our base right there. That's. Hunters who want to go to the 22nd floor, visit the 20th floor before. Vaccinated at my new pharmacy. Is that it? That's right. In the process, I get a commission. That's common sense. I, the owner of the 20th floor, the alchemist, building a new nest on the 20th floor, and Chinmumun, who would move its headquarters to the 22nd floor, all benefited. Nice. I didn't think that the day would come when I would get commission from real estate. I felt very happy. However, when the pharmacy actually opened, it turned out that there was a problem with the plan. Specifically, too many people gathered on the 20th floor. Medicine God Nim. Alchemist King Nim. Medicine Emperor Nim. Dear God of Alchemy. Please sell me some medicine. You can go to and from the 20th floor without a title. Therefore, not only were hunters trying to get vaccinations to go to the 22nd floor, but even more hunters flooded the 20th floor. The procedure to produce the zombie vaccine was rather complicated. Generic drugs were being manufactured and sold in the midst of that, so the flow of human traffic was twisted. At first, the alchemist tried to deal with it on her own before screaming. Death King Nim, this can't go on. Eventually, I had no choice but to call the last member of the 22nd floor attack team. The venomous snake put his arm around the Medicine King's shoulder and said, Medicine King. Your business is no fun these days, right? I'll give you a good spot at the 22nd floor's Chinmumun headquarters. Would you like to come and act as an exclusive doctor? Oh ho, Chinmumun Master. Who do you think this Sean McAllister is? Though he yelled so loudly, the Medicine King's business was going through a rough patch. The merit of the Medicine King's pharmacy was that it handled high-end medicine. However, as soon as the super competent alchemist appeared, the high-end strategy had become awkward. Everyone knew it, including the Medicine King. Eventually, when he was asked several times, the Medicine King groaned. All right. For the time being, I'll give out vaccines on the 22nd floor and take care of emergencies for a fee. Yes, please, I was in need of a doctor who could take care of Master exclusively. Humph. Well, that man is easier to talk to than Marcus. All right. I was also somewhat lonely. In the meantime, the attacks continued. There were many hunters besides us who were eager to take on the next stage. Plus. 21st floor, the great library of all things. 22nd floor, Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon, genre, martial arts, fusion. 23rd floor, Saga of the Iron Knights in Space, genre, SF. 24th floor, Dawn Mountain Cabin Journal, genre, mystery, history. Plus. Excellent. Truly, really excellent. The witch smiled contentedly. Before she knew it, she was commanding the hunters, carefully deciding what apocalypse to target and how many and who to attack. Death King. Your cool conquering of the Chronicles of the Heavenly Demon had a great impact. The other hunters' wills are burning, saying that they can't lose to you. These are people who don't listen well to what I say. It would have been great if things were like this in the past, too. The witch looked at me with affectionate eyes. Kind of like how one would look at a golden goose. She seemed like she was going to say that it was all thanks to me that this tower was built. If we continue this momentum, we'll be able to break through the 30th floor before next month. Unfortunately, the witch's prophecy was wrong. 2 weeks after the chronicles of the heavenly demon were cleared. Today, the attack on the 25th floor stage has failed. Hundreds of hunters, including the witch, stared blankly into the air, announcing to everyone again. Today, the attack on the 25th floor stage has failed. What? The witch was bewildered. Shock permeated her black eyes. I planned and sent out the best team. Failure. A hologram floated in the air of the Grand Library. The attack situation was broadcasted through the screen. On the holographic screen, countless demons giggled and slaughtered humans. There were familiar faces among the people being massacred. The 4th-ranked hunter. Count. The 9th-ranked hunter. Crusader. One was a hunter who handled the gold in Babylon, and the other was a hunter who handled the people. The people in charge of economy and public order. As the witch muttered in surprise, it was the strongest hand that we had. But it was a failure. Plus. The Tale of Sormwin Academy. Genre, romance, fantasy. Difficulty level, D class. Player limit, 2 to 5 people. The serialization is currently suspended. Introduction: Sormwin is a magic school with a long history. It is an ordinary academy where friendship, competition, love, and jealousy come and go. This apocalypse could have stayed as an ordinary school. However, there was a world-class artifact sealed in the basement of the academy. Reason for discontinuation: the villainess's fiancé, the crown prince, was stolen by a girl who had reincarnated for the 2nd time. The villainess turned around and unsealed the artifact, liberating the great devil and destroying the world. Plus. The apocalypse's difficulty was only D class. The world was chosen because magic had been developed and it was rich in mithril-like ores.
Aww.
What a shame. The librarian looked down at the devastated hunters. But spilled water is spilled water. Maybe you can put back what was spilled, but I can't overlook an attack that has already failed. Gentlemen. Please understand my position. The librarian smiled with his eyes. In other words, if one had the ability to put back spilled water, he would make an exception. It was obvious whom the librarian was referring to. I headed to the bathroom in the library. I had stopped by here once before entering the chronicles of the heavenly demon. A man with a stiff face was reflected in the mirror above the sink. Damn it. I've never read a romance novel before. Well, you haven't read martial arts novels before either, but you resolve things well. There probably won't be a problem? That's true, but... I grabbed my dagger with a sigh. I can't let the Count and Crusader die. And I don't think things will be cleared by sending someone else. As expected, I have to challenge this myself. Someone may ask why I don't give up and take on another apocalypse. Things weren't that simple. There was a reason I couldn't skip that apocalypse. Shiny cheers at the warrior's decision. That was because the fragments of the holy sword were hidden there. Okay. I touched the handle of the dagger and made up my mind. Let's go back one more time. With that, I returned to the day before the attack team was decided. It was that moment when my next stage was chosen to be romance.